Hey guys, so today we have a front split and middle split session. We're doing a little bit of back bends in there just because we're doing some kind of leg kickbacks, so we need a bit of back flexibility. But it is a fairly advanced session, and yeah, so it's not really for the beginner. If you're a beginner, then I would refer back to some of my more kind of general stretches. But I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Give this video a thumbs up, and let's get on with training. So we're actually going to start this split session off with back bends, which sounds a bit weird, but we're just going to start off with cat-cows just to warm up the back, and we're only actually going to do two exercises, cat-cows and cobras, because in some of the split kicks we're going to be using the back a little bit. So it would be nice to warm the back up first. So just cat-cows and then pressing into cobras, so fully extending the arms and driving the chest back. You can obviously have your legs a little bit closer if you want to, you'll probably feel more of a stretch, but we're not doing anything too intense. I would also suggest doing like a quick full body warm up, or at least being hot before you do this session. So pressing up into cobra and then driving down into a child's pose just to release the back a little bit. Then we're going to start with our hamstring stretches. So we're going to do 10 pulses at the top, just opening up the shoulders. And then we're going to go into 10 pulses, bringing the chest into the legs, trying to keep the legs as straight as possible, the weight through the front of the feet. And we're going to do this 2 times. So 10 pulses at the top, just opening out the chest and shoulders a little bit. Again, this is a bit of a warm-up, not really the main session until we get into the pikes, and then we're just warming up the hamstrings for our split positions. Yep, and then we're going to go into straddle lowers. So we're going to drop down to the ground and bring the legs out to the side, and we're actually going to go into 10 lowers in this position. So again, we're just working on that hamstring mobility, keeping your back nice and straight in this position. It's a hinge at the hip, lowering the chest down towards the ground. Don't worry too much if you can't get that low to the ground. Focus more on technique rather than getting all the way down to the ground. So we should be a little bit warmer now, and we're going to get into our lunges. So we're going to do 10 pulses in each position. This is ballistic stretching. Again, as I've mentioned, it is an advanced session, so you shouldn't be doing it if you're a beginner. Then we're going to reverse and we're going to flex the front foot. So leg should be straight, chest down towards the front leg. 10 pulses in each position. Back into a forwards lunge, this time back legs lifted off the ground, so you can get a little bit more of a stretch. And then we're actually going to rest the hands on the leg and do another 10 pulses in this position. Then we're going to come into our reverse lunge hold. So pulling the back foot in towards the glute, chest should be up. Just trying to push that back leg down to the ground. Then into a reverse high lunge, 10 pulses in this position. So it is quite a kind of ballistic session today. Now we're going to change sides, so doing the other leg lunges and 10 pulses again. Make sure the knee and the foot are at a right angle, the chest is up as you're doing this. Coming into the reverse low lunge, flexing the front foot, chest down towards the front leg, 10 pulses. Back into a forwards lunge, back leg off the ground, leg extended, 10 pulses. Elevating the hands onto the leg and another 10 pulses. Then into our slightly more tricky position. Again, really focus on that mobility side of the quad, pushing the quad down to the ground. And coming into a reverse high lunge, 10 pulses, chest down towards the front leg, both legs should be straight. Now we're going to come into pike lowers, so keeping the legs straight, we're lowering the chest down towards the legs, and again it's that hinge at the hip, so you should feel it stretching a little bit more than when we did the straddle lowers. Again behind the hamstrings, maybe behind the backs of the knees. You can flex the feet up if you'd like to. And then we're going to lower the hands all the way down and do the same, so 10 reaches towards the feet in front of us. And another 10 with the feet flexed. And relax. Now we're going to get into Jefferson curls. So we're going to do the first set without a weight. So you're lowering the chest all the way down the ground and you're trying to reach beyond the bench. The bench I was using was not a good bench to use. Then we're going to do 10 pulses in this position. So you should be able to get a bit more of a stretch than if we're just on the ground, because you've obviously got further that you can reach. Then I'm grabbing a weight, and we're going to do exactly the same, but we're going to slow the movement down. We're going to curve of the spine as we bring the legs down, as we bring the weight down the legs. So starting with the head looking down, keeping the weight through the front of the feet, trying to keep the legs straight, and just kind of let gravity pull you down towards the ground. And then we're going to come straight back up, so we're not holding for too long on the first one, and we're going to lower back down, curving of the spine towards the ground. Feel that stretch for a second, coming back up. I'm going to do a couple of these, so you can do about 3 to 5 of these, and then on the last one we're going to hold. So keep that weight through the front of the feet, keep the legs as straight as you can, and then on this last one we're just going to hold it. As always, you can hold it for up to a minute if you want to. I don't hold it for too long. Then we're going to come out of that position, we're going to go into needle kicks. So obviously I am already flexible, so I can kick straight into a needle, but yours might be a fairly reduced range of motion compared to what I'm kicking, but the aim is to try and keep the hips square and then kick the leg up to the ceiling. Now we're going to go into, I'm just doing a little bit of cat-cow, we're going into back leg kickbacks. So again, we're working on the glutes and that kind of split strength. This is the main reason we actually warm the back up a little bit, because as you can see, there's a slight arch in the lower back. So I'm just going to do 10 on each side again. Then we're going to do last 10 leg kickbacks. So this time arms are on the bench. Again, really using that lower back in these, but you should be, trying to get as much into split as you can, keeping the hips square, not letting the legs drift to the side. So this is a really good exercise if you're working on your needles. Now we're going to slide into these splits on that leg, keeping the hips square again, and you've got the option to lean forwards. If you're advanced with your split training, you might want to elevate the foot on a bench, which I'm going to do in a minute. You could also do 10 lean forwards, lean back in this position if you want to. I'm not going to do that today, but we have warmed up the back nicely if you want to add that in. So as you can see, I'm just going straight into splits on the bench. I would suggest holding the splits a kind of like accumulative time of 1 to 2 minutes. And then coming out of that position, and we're going to go into the other leg needle kicks. So 10 on each leg, trying to kick all the way into splits or as high as you can. So it's a really good dynamic stretch, this one. Again, if you're working on your contortion needles or your contortion kind of splits, then this is a good exercise. Now we're going to move on to the leg kickbacks on your hands and knees. Really try and focus on that lower back, getting a bit of an arch there, kicking the leg all the way to the ceiling. And then finally onto our 10 kicks with the arms on the bench. Same thing, both legs trying to keep as straight as you can. These are all also really good kind of conditioning exercises to do. They're going to help kind of build up strength as well as mobility. Then we're going to go into that leg split, so keeping the hips square again, sliding all the way down to splits. And I give you the option, obviously, to stay in this position, to elevate the foot on a surface, to lean forwards, to do your 10 lean forwards, lean back if you want to as well. If you want to hold this for longer, obviously do pause the video and then you can obviously return where you left off. So keeping the hips square. You can obviously stay in the normal splits if you're not already down, and then we're just sliding down into an elevated split position. So I'm just holding for the last couple of seconds. As I said, hold for longer than I am holding. Now we're going to go into our needle kicks against the wall. So we're going to come into a needle as far as we can against the wall, and then we're just going to do 10 pulses lifting the foot off the wall. Again, this is such a good strength exercise for working on your split position. And then we're just going to do 10 on the other side as well. You want to make sure you're keeping even with both legs. So little lifts. You might need to be closer to the wall so you can try and lift the foot off the wall. If you can't actually lift the foot, still attempt to do the little pulses. And coming away from the wall, now we're going to do 10 static leg kicks. So again, focusing on that leg strength, which is so important when you're doing your flexibility. So we're going to do 10 kicks on each side, try not to push the hips forwards or wobble the body. And then changing to the other sides, I would always suggest kicking the outer leg, but I can basically move the bench in time, so I just kept to that inner leg on that side. Next we're going to go into leg kickbacks, so chest facing the bench and starting straight back, and it's just a little lift, it's more a squeeze of the glute, again focusing on that glute strength, which is so important when you're doing your split training. And we're just doing 10 on each side. You can do a couple of sets of these, all the leg kick exercises, and that's going to help you build up that strength. Now we're going to move into our middle split prep. So we're going to start off with side to side lunges. We're going to do 10 on each side, moving from one side to the other. If you need to put the hands down for a bit of balance, then obviously you can do that. Try and keep the heel of the foot on the ground as you're going from one side to the other, and you should look a little bit like a ninja, but as I'm well aware, you know, some of you guys won't be quite as flexible, so it might be a little bit slower, not quite reaching the kind of glute and hamstring to the ground. Then we're going to hold in the middle, trying to push the knees out with the hands or the elbows and just coming up, and then we're going to do 10 squats. Again, I really suggest doing kind of strength training, leg training, squats, Romanian deadlifts, all that kind of fun stuff, which so many contortionists never ever do. As you come up, you can see I'm really focusing on contracting the glutes. Now we're going to go into side leg kicks. So we're going to do 10 on each side. We're going to bring the foot in front of the body and then swing out to the side as high as you can. Then changing to the other side. You can also, if you want to, do these statically, so you're not bringing the leg across the body, you're just keeping it pointing out to the side and then lifting, so it's really focusing on that hip strength. Now we're going to get into a frog position. So you start with the knees in line with the hips, and you're going to do a bit PNF stretching. So you're going to tense the legs as hard as you can, trying to push the knees down to the ground, and then you're going to relax for 5 seconds. So you're going to do this 3 times, so tensing, 5 seconds, relax, 5 seconds, until you get as low as you can. Then you're going to hold that position and just ease into the stretch. The whole time when you're doing this, you want to make sure that the knees are staying in line with the hips. It's very important. And then just coming out of that position. Now we're going to straighten one leg, again keeping both legs in line with the hips. And you're just going to slide down as far as you can, trying to get the body as close down to the ground. And then holding that position. You can hold this position for about 30 seconds to a minute. Thought I had fallen asleep then. And then we're going to change to the other side, so I'm just going to show you from a front angle. So again, foot and leg in line with the hip, sliding all the way down. You want a right angle with the foot that is bent as well. And I'm sure a lot of you guys are going to be a lot higher, so do use the elbows for support. Also put some yoga blocks under your knees if it's too much pressure on the knees. So coming out of that position, we're actually going to go into our middle split laying down. Legs are coming out to the side, so a bit like the frog we've just done, but trying to slide as low down to the ground as you can. Some of you guys might be on the elbows, a bit higher up, and some of you guys will be flat. If you're flat, then again, I'm going to give you the option to elevate the foot on a raised surface. So I'm just going to hold for a little bit. And then I'm going to go to overstretching of the middle splits. I'm actually doing 10 little buttock lifts. I did mention last time that you can do this, especially if you're working handstand and planche training. It's really beneficial to do this exercise and actually even try and elevate the feet off the ground. We're going to come out of that position and we're going to go into a sitting up middle split position. You want to try and raise the ankles off the ground or squeeze the quads as hard as you can so you can focus on quad strength when you're sat here. And then I'm actually going to go into my elevated split now. If you can't do the elevated split, then I'll suggest just staying in that seated position, and you can hold that for about 1 to 2 minutes. So if you're doing elevated split, make sure that you are sitting into it, your chest is up, your shoulders are back. And then I'm going to go into a laying down elevated split, which is quite tricky. Again, it's a lot of pressure on the knees, so if you are feeling it's a little bit uncomfortable and you've got hyperextended knees, then do put some kind of prop underneath your knees, because I don't want you hurting yourself. And coming out of that position, I'm just going to change sides. Last stretch, so we're sitting up. If you can, try and elevate the ankle off the ground. Again, so we're focusing on that quad strength. And then coming forwards into a laying down middle split position, arms out to the side. Add some yoga blocks or some kind of prop if you need to underneath the knees. Just relax into the stretch. You can hold for up to 1 to 2 minutes. Hope you guys enjoyed that video. You should be coming on really well with your splits now. Do refer back to the old videos and obviously this video for your training. And I will see you in my video tomorrow. Bye!